Jan, are you ready? Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. At this time, I'd like to call the order of the September 14th, 2020 East Ridge Planning Commission. Before we begin, if we can have roll call, please.
Chairperson Chauncey,
Here.
Commission Member Howe,
Here.
Commission Member Miller,
Here.
Commission Member Spence,
Here.
Commission Member Tuggle.
Here.
Okay, first thing we want to do is get the approval of the minutes from our April 6, 2020 meeting. I trust everyone's had a chance to look over the minutes. And I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion to approve and a second. Okay, roll call, please. Yeah, I got a motion to approve by Mr. Tuggle and a second by Ms. Howe.
Commission Member Howe,
Yes.
Commission Member Miller,
Abstain. I wasn't present.
Commission Member Spence,
Yes.
Commission Member Tuggle,
Yes.
Chairperson Chauncey.
Yes. We got no old business to discuss tonight, so before we get down to new business, I mentioned at the last meeting that I wanted to discuss and take action and appoint a vice chair for this board. It has been about 4 or 5 months since our last meeting, so I trust y'all all had a chance to think it over. So if y'all haven't got any questions in regards to a vice chair, I will entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion to nominate Mr. Tuggle.
Got a motion from Commissioner Member Howe to nominate Mr. Casey Tuggle and a second by Commissioner Mickey Spence. Any questions? See none. Roll call, please, Ms. Middleton.
Commission Member Howe,
Yes.
Commission Member Miller,
Yes.
Commission Member Spence,
Yes.
Commission Member Tuggle,
Do I abstain? Do I vote for myself? What do I do?
I hope you say yes.
I will not say no. Sure. Yes.
Chairperson Chauncey.
Yes. Thank you for your service, Mr. Tuggle.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get down to new business. We got one item on the agenda tonight, and it's going to be consider the request of ASA Engineering and Consulting, Inc. to have the property located at 6501, 6505, 6509, and 6513 McCall Road, rezoned from R2 Residential Duplex District to C4 Planned Commercial Center District.
Mr. Chairman and Commission, so just like you stated, the applicant is ASA Engineering and Consulting Incorporated on behalf of the property owner Sterling Holdings LLC. This will be proposed rezone from R2 to C4 Planned Commerce Center. The report that we got back from RPA, they noted some comments, compatibility with adopted area and neighborhood plans. Currently, it stated that the RPA does not have an adopted area plan currently on file. However, the Hamilton County Comprehensive Plan shows development intensity level 1 on this site. Level 1 area are culturally, environmentally, and aesthetically significant, but are not managed or protected. On the next, they agreed that it was compatible with adjacent land uses. The proposed residential townhomes are compatible with surrounding single-family and two-family residential uses, but may require additional conditions in order to mitigate any potential nuisance such as excess lighting, noise, and traffic. I will be happy to address some of those items as we move forward throughout the meeting. Compatibility with adjacent landform. Again, it talks about a number of two-family residents in the area, and that the condo development could actually be a step-down zone and create that buffer between the commercial and the single-family residential. One comment, the last comment that was made, this was just because RPA does not have our current updated zoning. We actually brought it before this body a better part of a year ago on a setback requirement. You'll remember within the Ringo Road corridor or any planned commercial district that we allowed a 5-foot setback So where it states that the site plan provided a 5-foot setback along McCall Road, which is not consistent with C4 setback, that part is incorrect because that was adopted by this body and approved by City Council. So the request is for the property address 6501, 6505, 6509, and 6513 McCall to rezone that from R2 to C4. And the proposed use of that zone will actually be for residential condos. In your packet, you've been provided a rough site plan and some GIS photos outlining those areas. And then you should have also been provided some architectural drawings that was provided by the developer on what the development will actually look like. So you have some exterior and interior elevations, and these are shown just as the 3-story units. The 3-story units will actually face the development itself. The 2-story units will face McCall, and they'll have a more, it's planned in discussions with the developer is what I've been, or the discussions that I've had, is that they will still have a new appeal, but will follow some more traditional design guidelines as it relates to gables and such like that, so it flows within the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Custer. I know we've got 3 gentlemen up here on the call with us. We're going to hear from Mr. Sykes or Mr. Jones first.
I think Mr. Jones is going to be presenting for ASA.
Okay. Mr. Jones, are you on? Can you hear us? Or you can go ahead with your presentation if you're ready.
Can everybody hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Sorry, I had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. Well, thank you for the introduction, Kenny Custer. As he stated, we are looking at doing townhomes, townhomes and condo development on the lots listed. I will say that I think this is a great transition zoning. Yes, we're going for the C4, but we're using it as a residential use. So from a zoning transition, going from the live, work, play, or the live and play area for the stadium and the rest of the development for that piece of the project and the single family and duplex neighborhood, I do believe that this is a good transition. Right now, we're proposing 44 townhomes. It really is an addition of about 34 units if you take into account the 5 duplexes that are currently owned by Sterling Holdings LLC. Will be demolished as a part of this project. So it'll be about a gain of about 34 additional units to the neighborhood. I think everything else has been touched on since the submittal of our rezoning application. We started out with this GIS survey, but we've since had the property surveyed. And so we were able to fine tune our site plan to make sure we meet the setbacks of the C4, which is the 5 feet from public right of ways, and then also the 25-foot side setback we will have against the existing residential property to the west of our site. So we will meet all the setback requirements. And I think that's about it. And I guess I'll just leave it to any questions that the Planning Commission may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jones. Before I get into any questions from the commission members, I wanted to go over some emails that I got. Typically, whenever we have a rezoning request like this, we will open up a public hearing here. But since due to Mr. Since we're holding our meetings by electronic means, we've opened it up for emails. So all the citizens who wanted to send me an email to address their concerns, they had until today by noon to send me an email. And I did get about 4 emails, so I'm going to go ahead and start reading these emails, and we can kind of address them as we go along here. The first email I got was from Mr. Sean Carney. He didn't give me an address, but Mr. Carney says, I am writing to express my concerns for this rezoning application. This is absolutely a terrible idea. This is one of the few nice and peaceful neighborhoods left in East Ridge. So many of my neighbors have lived in the neighborhood for over a half a century, and this has the potential to ruin our quiet little neighborhood. We do not need or want any additional traffic coming through. This is a residential area and needs to stay that way. The next one I got was from Mrs. Linda Johnson. It says, "Hi, I am Linda Johnson. I live at 6114 Bermuda Terrace, East Ridge, Tennessee 37412. I want to go on record that I oppose the rezoning of the property located at Lansdale Park. This is a small residential neighborhood. I wish to keep it this way. I do not think changing the rezoning on McCall Street will be an asset to the neighborhood. It will bring too much traffic. We have a large amount of children who ride bikes, trikes, and power wheels and keep the entire neighborhood residential. I think you should listen to the long-term residents, not outside firms, who, by the way, have already pulled one over on you since the stadium looks nothing like the conceptual drawing that it was in all of the papers. It reminds me of a middle school football field." Kenny, I'll go ahead and let you maybe kind of shed some.
Yeah, so just briefly, I will talk about just this last one, and then I'll handle.
I'm sorry, I do have a few more emails, but I'll read those after. I just wanted to let you maybe address the first two.
Yes. So, and I'll start with the first one. And you'll see through these emails that traffic is a concern, and I've just passed out a proposed street configuration for Lansdale Park. After speaking with several residents there and working with the engineering firm, we believe that we will be able to create some cul-de-sacs as part of our resurfacing project, which would actually be on Blanton, Lansdale, and at the end of McCall, which would stop the free flow of traffic from Spring Creek Road through the development to North Smith. Over the years, as things have happened in Lansdale Park, which is a terrific community, one thing that keeps coming up over and over again is the amount of through traffic. And I think by this proposed street configuration that we're exploring right now, we would be able to eliminate that. So that would eliminate the concern of an overflow amount of traffic just traveling through the neighborhood by creating that cul-de-sac opportunity. So if you're entering that neighborhood, you'd be entering the neighborhood because you live there, you're visiting somebody, or you're purchasing something. So that would create like its own standalone area, like Lansdale Park truly was designed to be initially. When they added North Smith Road, North Smith is not actually part of the plat for Lansdale Park, so it's not considered Lansdale Park. So as for the traffic, that's one area that we're looking at adjusting. And like I say, we've been working with engineers to kind of fine tune what works. But I think it could be an overall positive for the community. The developer wants to be able to have the ability of the residents of Lansdale Park access this development upon and near completion via pedestrian access, potentially golf cart friendly community. Not vehicular traffic from the neighborhood itself, but that whole live, work, play that we're talking about, you don't necessarily have to live in the development to receive all those amenities. You could live in Lansdale Park and receive those amenities. So there's several things that we're working on. As it relates to the stadium and renderings, obviously renderings always change, but if you'll think back to about July 6th of 2019, we were all standing out on North Mac Smith Road with a big pile of dirt that we put a shovel in. And it was probably 3 weeks to a month before we even began, before they even began the haul process to bring that in. Fast forward to not even a year later, they played their first game on the stadium, and that was the goal, to get the stadium built enough to play that first game. And I can tell you that it's not near completion. They're able to play in there, and the citizens are able to go and support a local professional team. But I believe everybody's going to be super, super amazed of how this stadium's going to turn out when complete.
Thank you, Kenny. Yeah, I think we're all kind of expecting about a 5 to 6 year build out from the initial time they were breaking ground. So I'm happy that they've made as much groundwork as they have. So I'll go ahead and continue addressing concerns from citizens. Next email was from Amber Allen. She says, my family and I are against the rezoning of this area, as are many others. This area should remain a residential area. There are many small children and families in the neighborhood who enjoy getting together and playing in the streets, such as riding bicycles, playing softball/baseball, etc. It would be in the best interest of the people living in this neighborhood for the through traffic to be residential traffic only, and for our neighborhood to not be a busy passage to and from the hustle and bustle of the field and other businesses. Regards, Amber Carney. Next one I have here is from Marilyn Hadley. So this is Marilyn Hadley, owner of the home at 6508 Holiday Drive in Lansdale Park in East Ridge. When you rezoned the property behind our neighborhood a year ago, the council assured us that the rezoning would not include any of the residential properties in the neighborhood, including those on McCall Road, even though McCall Road was listed as the address on the rezoning application. I specifically pointed this out during that meeting. There are two possible access points into the rezoned property from the commercial roads. Mac Smith Road accesses from Ringgold Road, and North Mac Smith Road, where the rezoning notice was actually posted last year, accessed from Spring Creek Road. East Ridge's rezoning regulations require that such a large development must have an access available from a major road. You already assured us in Lansdale Park that this development would not impact our neighborhood. I am asking you to honor that promise, even if the same people or people connected to this development may have bought the duplexes on McCall Road. They should not be able to change the zoning on these after the fact to any use other than residential. The small access road at the intersection of North Smith Road and McCall Road that is there to provide access for public utilities should remain only a utility access road, not turned into the extension of a public road into this development, and truck traffic should continue to be prohibited in our neighborhood as it always has been. Thank you for your time, Marilyn Hadley. Ms. Hadley actually emailed me right after, a little bit shortly, actually it was a couple hours later, and she says, in addition to the email I sent at 7:26 this morning, I would like to also add that there is now a chain link gated fence at the property that the Red Wolf Stadium is on, from both ends of McCall and the back of our neighborhood. The last duplex at the west end of the street has completely disappeared, and a fence and gate added behind the property with the stadium clearly visible. Now the rezoning notice is posted closer to the center of McCall Road, indicating that they are indeed attempting to actually rezone the duplexes on the side of McCall that backs up to the stadium, an action which the commission ambiguously stated to us in the public meeting last year was not the case. The property behind the duplexes was rezoned over a year ago, so this new request obviously created more access onto the property from the back end of what has been a quiet neighborhood, whereas there is no significant direct cut through or truck traffic. This rezoning, if approved, would totally change the nature of our entire neighborhood, something the city commission assured residents would not happen when you had the public meeting last year. If this rezoning is passed, you are effectively making our entire neighborhood a part of this new development. If that happens at some point in the future, I decide it's no longer a quiet neighborhood with limited traffic, creating a safe place for my grandchildren to ride their bikes up and down the three or four streets that back to my house, I do not expect any complaints from the city of the East Ridge if I decide to turn my home into an Airbnb. The residents of Lansdale Park do not appreciate such decision being made behind closed doors with the ability to ask questions in order to address our concerns. Thank you, Marilyn. I have one more here. It's a little short. I'll go ahead and read that last one before you want to respond. The last one here is from Mrs. Karen Schaefer. My name is Karen Schaefer. I live at 6512 Holiday Drive in East Ridge, Tennessee, 37412. Lansdale Park is my neighborhood. Please do not make property inside our neighborhood commercial. I have read some of what the plans is, such as planning a green space, making it more pedestrian friendly, and you will be working on the amount of through traffic. It sounds as if you were going to be inviting people that do not live in the neighborhood into it. And how much extra traffic are you anticipating coming into our neighborhood that will need to be worked on? The green space, are you planning to put a park of some sort at the end of our neighborhood connecting us to the Red Wolves area? I like my quiet neighborhood, and I am concerned that I have questions about what may happen to it. Respectfully, Karen Schaefer. And that's all the communications from citizens I have. Kenny, you want to respond to the last couple?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would like to add a few things before I go back. And there will also be another opportunity for a public hearing coming up within the next city council meeting, which is not the one in September, but on the second Thursday of October. There'll be another public hearing about this same thing, so we'll be able to go through this same process. Everybody will have more information. I encourage anyone out there that that has questions or concerns, you can come see me at City Hall. You can reach me at 423-867-7711. You can send me an email at kcuster@eastridgetn.gov. All of my information is available on the city's website, and I welcome anybody to call, and I would be happy to explain kind of the direction that we're looking at, and also hopefully convey and create some assurances for the community. So there's between all these that came through that, it was the through traffic, and I believe with what the proposed street configuration that we're looking at would completely eliminate the through traffic altogether. So, which again would create that really safe, tight-knit community that Lansdale Park is. And that's what we want to do. We want the development to move forward. We think it's prosperous for the city, but at the same time, we don't want to feel like the residents are neglected. So we want to make sure that they have some added benefit to their community. And the developer has conveyed that numerous times to city staff, is the reason why he liked the site so much was because he had the area that's next to it, that he really thought really highly of Lansdale Park, and that ability for people just to be able to get out more, that didn't, if they didn't want to drive, they wanted to go for a walk, they'd be able to walk into the development. It gives more opportunity for them. So one of the comments that was made was related to, if you're going to have a development, it's got to come from a major street. So Spring Creek Road is a functionally classified road. It falls under functional classification as it relates to funding through TDOT. So that is a major road that connects East Ridge, Chattanooga. So that road does suffice as a connecting point into the development. So that's one.
Where does that come in to the development? Lansdale development, where does Spring
Yes,
Creek
nothing that you're seeing on this goes to the development. This is just to secure the neighborhood.
I understand that, but
The development just comes off Spring Creek Road to North Smith, right across from Park Ridge East Hospital. That's a double divided.
is there a connection there now?
Yes.
I can drive my vehicle there now?
You can
Okay,
drive.
so it does meet that,
Yes, it
because
does.
that was one of the questions I had.
Absolutely.
Is it says shall be permitted only where adequate?
Yeah.
It doesn't say maybe, it says shall. So it does meet that criteria
Yes,
definition.
it does. And even currently, as the road sits today, which we know needs some enhancements, it is divided. It's a divided 4-lane. Or divided 2-lane, you know what I mean, that comes down in by the dialysis clinic. The other part was the other gate, which was on the west end. That's actually utilized to access some utilities. So that was temporary in nature, to be able to get certain utilities ran from one area to the other, because there's not a road that comes in there far enough into where the stadium is. And that was just in order to be able to actually get people playing on the surface and get the development off the ground, essentially.
Okay.
And the other is again, putting more people into the neighborhood. Yes, you are increasing the number of people into that area, but if you use the proposed street configuration, the development will only access from, or not the development, I apologize, the development we're talking about right now, which is the townhome development, will be accessed from North Smith and McCall. So, and the proposal is is what we're working with engineers, if we can get everything finalized, would potentially be to place a cul-de-sac at the end of Blanton Drive, place a cul-de-sac at the end of Lansdale Road, and place a cul-de-sac at McCall and Floyd. So that would actually create those areas to where McCall Road and North Smith would be connected, but the rest of Lansdale Park would be connected only off Spring Creek Road. So you would eliminate that flow of traffic.
However, that means that this development would also be cut off from Spring Creek Road, which would eliminate the major road portion.
Yes, it would, for this portion.
But isn't that a contingency for being able to make this C4 that has major road access, but the plan would include removing it from the major road that's required for it to be approved for this access?
Not necessarily, because there's still road improvements to be done, because this faces two directions and it will be tied into the development itself.
Then does that give access for the development to McCall Road in a way that was not already present in the master plan?
Can you repeat that, Casey?
Sure. Short version being, we've all seen the plans for the development. And does this proposed residential development change access to McCall or North Smith from the rest of the development in a way that was not in the original master plan?
No. So originally it was connected through McCall. The only thing that we're trying to do by cul-de-sac in McCall is to create more continuity for the neighborhood itself, not necessarily the that secondary road.
And
Right,
Kenny,
so it would cut off Lansdale Park from increased traffic from the development, in other words.
Yes. No.
There's not going to be any access to the park from this development.
No.
Right. So,
But there would
At
be
least not by car.
access to North Smith McCall corner from the development, but that was already existing with the previous land purchased.
Yes, that's correct. And that also has an existing easement to access the billboards on I-75.
May I weigh in? This is Jeff Sykes.
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
sure, Jeff, go ahead.
Not sure what the protocols are in a Zoom meeting. I presented the original rezoning case before council over a year ago, and a lot of the concerns of Lansdale Park were stormwater, increased traffic, truck traffic, going through the site, basically connecting the site to Lansdale Park, and nothing has changed there. We haven't done a traffic study to figure out exactly how many, what the increased volume would be with the additional townhome units, but there is access, there would be access from the site to those units, a portion of those units as well. So I believe that if there is an increased traffic, it would be very, very negligible. I think that there's a path towards making sure that you don't have through traffic, and nothing from our original discussion in the rezoning application or our comments in have changed. We plan to improve stormwater flow out of Lansdale Park. We don't anticipate putting, and let me back up, there's a WWTA project going on now, and there have been a few trucks going through the neighborhood, but throughout the entire development, we've had no truck traffic going through Lansdale Park, our site. WWTA has had a couple of trucks going through there today. But we've held firm that, we didn't want to impact the neighborhood adversely. And I still think that that's true today.
and this is Alan Jones, if I may add in to the discussion. And looking at this townhome piece of it that we're discussing today, this piece is not, the townhome development is not a pass-through as far as a traffic connector from the stadium development to through the neighborhood. If you look at the way we're designing this, you've got a driveway coming from the development into the townhomes, and then it tees off, and then it branches back over to McCall, so the residents can access. So these driveways that we're proposing through this townhome is pretty much restricted to the residents that will be living in these homes.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Well, I will say, I just, going back through some of these concerns from citizens, it seemed like everyone was concerned about the traffic. And I completely agree. As a resident myself, I'm always concerned about traffic in my own home, and I'm concerned about the increase thereof if that was to happen. So with this proposed development here, with blocking off, putting in cul-de-sacs here on Blanton Drive, Lansdale Drive, and there on the corner of McCall and Floyd, would completely eliminate any traffic that's coming into this new development from going through Lansdale Park, period.
Yes.
They couldn't. And I know for years, people in Lansdale Park have been complaining about the traffic just in general before the development.
Yes, and that's been, working in the departments that I've worked in over the years, and just knowing some of the people that are staples within that community, live there for a number of years. Some of their biggest complaints is people would just want to bypass the light at Spring Creek Road and zoom through the neighborhood to come out by the McDonald's and the Hardee's. Mm-hmm. And this would eliminate that. Plus, when you get trucks and stuff that gets rerouted, they try to take a shortcut. If the interstate's blocked, they reroute through neighborhoods. And this would eliminate all that. So we feel like this would be a positive for the neighborhood. And we're trying to think of every positive aspect that we can come up with for Lansdale Park, because we know how proud they are to call themselves Lansdale Park. And we want that to continue. We want that community to continue. And that's what's most important to us as city officials is, yes, development is fantastic. We want to continue to move forward and continue to grow, but we also don't want residents to think that they're taking a back seat. And by going ahead and trying to be proactive, working on these proposed street configurations, we're trying to do this hand in hand to make sure that everybody's on equal footing.
However, we do not have a requirement that the cul-de-sacs as proposed be the approval be contingent upon that traffic mitigation, right? There's nothing in the proposed zoning request to physically disconnect McCall and North Smith from the other roads that currently connect to Spring Creek.
No, we don't, because that's actually not a recommendation by the applicant. That this is something that's being taken on by the city staff.
Kenny, the only one cul-de-sac proposed that McCall, Blanton, Lansdale have enough room at the end of those fire apparatus.
Yeah, so they started running the calcs on those today.
Okay, because I'm concerned about the width of those streets and the length of those. You're now going to cul-de-sac those. You cannot back a sanitation truck all the way at the end of that cul-de-sac. If they can't make a turnaround, you're not going to be able to back it into anybody's driveway because the weight of that truck will crush it.
Absolutely, and that's one thing we started looking at. And the smallest area that, and we're only looking right away to right away. We're not looking at any acquisition. We're not just right away to right away is greater than 60 foot.
Okay, I'm just if you do, just make sure that you have the trucks can make the circular, because you're not going to be able to back them out as far as that is to get back onto Holiday Drive.
Gotcha. I understand.
Does any other commission members have any questions for Mr. Sykes or Mr. Jones?
Concerns I have is going from an R2 to a C4. Why can't we go to an R2 to an R3, residential apartment district? The reason I ask that is this. You're going to a C4 planned commercial center. That's a rezoning. It's not a conditional use. It's not a stipulated use. It's a rezoning for in perpetuity. If this development does not go, for whatever reason, could be financing, could be whatever obstacles are there that makes that land is going to be rezoned commercial. What's stopping anybody from acquiring that? And under the C4, you got uses permitted: department stores, supermarkets, eating and drinking establishments, barber shops, offices, studios, hotels and motels. You have a list. These now are applicable and permitted uses in a C4.
It is, unless you put a condition on these lots.
You cannot condition. I'll ask the legal question. I've been there 4 decades on this. You cannot condition a rezoning. A rezoning to a C4 can't just be for these duplexes, townhouses. You can't put that condition on. When you rezone it to C4, it's C4. Any use can go in there that is permitted.
And it can be conditioned.
Right. No, there's a distinction. Is this, you can hear me, Josh? All right. So the distinction to be made on the condition is we are not doing a condition wherein that the developer will agree to do X if we agree to rezone Y. The developer has only proposed this type of usage that he's proposed here. The city can say this will be rezoned to C4. The following uses are not permitted, and then you can eliminate those conditions of what it will not allow in connection with the C4 and limit it down. We saw this happen. If you've been in Chattanooga, you see up there on East Brenner Road, it's where the Sligers and the dental place, it's up there. They had 20-something conditions on that property, one of which was they could never have a restaurant. That's why you never see a restaurant up there on that Matt Hollander development. So we're not conditioning doing a will agree to X if they agree to Y. That we're not doing. We're saying they've asked for X, we're going to limit conditions to that X. And if this developer goes under, then anyone that rebuys this or acquires this property would still be subject to the limited uses under what you all said or what council would approve. It wouldn't be in perpetuity for all uses under the C4.
So in essence, if we zone this, I've never heard of that before. I've been in 10 cities in 4 decades, never heard of conditional, even been to court on these things, but that now. So we're saying if we go from an R2 4, we are only going to allow a permitted use of townhouses, and we're going to exclude in that ordinance Section 1403, uses permitted under the C4 and commerce, A, B, C, D, E, F, all the way down. Those are all going to be prohibited.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so the only one
Within these parcels.
within these 4 parcels?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
This is Alan. May I speak to this real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
So the reason for the C4 is it gives you more flexibility in how you design your residential development. I do the same thing in Chattanooga all the time so Chattanooga also does not have good infill urban housing zoning. They're actually working on that right now.
Right.
And so a lot of times I'll rezone projects to UGC. Actually, I had 2 today at Hamilton County. I had one that was rezoned to UGC urban general commercial, which freaks everybody out because it's commercial, but we're only proposing townhomes. And so the planning commission put the condition on the rezoning was that the parcels that are adjacent to R1 or R2 development or parcels are limited to residential use only.
I just want to be sure on that because I've seen too many times developments don't materialize. Property is sold, somebody buys it, and then you got an individual coming in asking.
Right, and through state law, Hamilton County is one of few counties that's allowed to do conditional zoning.
Okay,
So,
not conditional zoning, not conditional, it's not one. but you're eliminating permitted uses under the existing or section of the zoning ordinance.
Sure, that's another way to look at it, yes.
Okay, this isn't a one-to-one. I mean, if it's done that way, the attorney said, that's fine. I'm okay with it. I think the development's nice. I just am always concerned about what happens if something
goes wrong.
materialize.
Absolutely.
Because, those people are still gonna be living there, the residents are still gonna be living there, and I don't want something thrown in there that is really going to, add a detriment to the, resident neighborhood.
And neither do we. And when we were looking at all different, it just made more sense to do the zoning like we're talking about, exactly like that, and keep it uniform instead of having just basically a spot zone here and there. Like if they move two down, and then now that's going to go back to
No,
R2. And
I understand that.
and
So-
getting the R3 zone in this community has not been that easy
I
as
know.
of late.
I know.
But what about RT1? Why not that? I mean, for an intended use, is it surely a setback issue?
Well,
It's basically setbacks.
yes.
Yeah, your setbacks. I understand. We, unfortunately, we don't have a,
And
Anyway.
then you can't get a variance for that because you're creating your own hardship.
Right.
So
Correct.
But I thought we had a consideration for zero lot line that did not require commercial use now under the reform code, do we not?
but we do just in commercial zones.
Okay. We should fix that.
There's a few things we need to visit, Casey. There's no doubt.
I'd be a heck of a lot happier with residential use zero lot line than I would be on C4, even if I could think of all the things we'd want to restrict. And don't get me wrong, I'm an absolute confirmed capitalist, and I didn't realize this land's in the border region. I'd like to see something sales tax producing put on there, but I'm also a realist, and if it's intended to be a transitional point between the intended mixed use residential and commercial areas that we all saw in the original master plan and an existing mature neighborhood, we need to take that with all the diligence possible.
Understand.
I agree with you, Trick.
Okay.
I'm done.
Does any other commission members have any other questions at all?
I would like to ask a question.
Sure.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. So the end of Blanton, the north end of Blanton and the north end of Lansdale will now be cul-de-sacs, so you will not be able to go from Blanton to McCall or Lansdale to McCall. Is that correct?
That's what's in discussion. That's proposed, and that's what's being worked on through the city.
Okay.
It's not tied in as part of this rezoning request. I just knew that traffic is always the first thing that comes up in this neighborhood, and because of what they wanted. So after speaking with a few of the residents, they were just bouncing ideas, and we were working back and forth. So we got with engineers and had them put some diagrams together, some renderings to see what would work. And we've had several different concepts. We had one concept that actually took McCall Road and turned it into a green space. The issue with that is they have front drive entrances into the first set of designed condos. Now, if those wasn't currently designed, you could do rear entry. You could eliminate that portion of McCall, turn it into a green space, whatever the case may be. But like I say, we want to do what we can. We want to create some more aesthetically pleasing areas in there. But as Mr. Sykes mentioned, one huge benefit to Lansdale Park is they will be able to capture all the stormwater in that lower end and actually carry it away to where it just runs behind these duplexes and sat. And as many of you sat on these boards and in these meetings over the last several years, the complaint about those duplexes have been numerous. I mean, the last one we condemned and tore down, oh goodness, was probably 2010. And it's still a vacant lot to this day. No, they're not.
No.
It's an improvement for sure.
Very much so.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would like to ask a couple of questions, which I think that we've gone over some of this, but C4 does provide a lot of allowances. And so if we're talking about making conditions, I think that, it allows for warehouse and storage, and I would want to make sure that that was one of those conditions as well. The changes with the cul-de-sacs, I think would improve the conditions in the neighborhoods. I want to make sure that we're bringing this new development in for residential townhomes and improving the community for Lansdale as well. I think that cul-de-sac model could potentially do that. I think along with Mr. Miller and others, the C4 just provides a lot of allowances that we need to be very careful of.
We need to exclude them all,
Right.
except for F, which says apartments, townhouses, provided however.
Right.
If you exclude all the others and make that part of the zoning ordinance, I'm clear with it. Only providing for one permitted use.
Yeah, I believe with on those lots, that would be, those conditions, I think would go a long way with the community also.
Only the townhouses can be.
I got a question. So if this passes tonight, and does the, whenever it goes to council, is that when we'll see that these other uses that C4 is permitted to be removed from the?
Yes, so essentially you all, and I don't want to speak for you, but if a motion were to be made to approve this rezoning, then you would list those in there. And then once it got to the city recorder, she would draft the ordinance, the zoning ordinance or the rezoning ordinance that would specify what those were.
So we're looking at, if we were to make a motion to approve this, we need to eliminate those uses tonight. Is that what you're?
That's what you'd be sending up to recommendation for the city council to approve.
Mr. Miller has the
City
list in
council.
front of him.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
But before I do entertain a motion, I just want to make sure there's no other questions from the commission members. Good, I see none. Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
I'd make an approval to Plan Commerce R2, excluding the A, B, H, I, J, K, L, M. F, and that's apartments.
Second that.
Okay, we got a motion to approve with other conditions by Commission Member Miller and a second by Commission Member Tuggle. Any other questions? I see none. Can we have roll call, Ms. Middleton?
Commission Member Howell,
Yes.
Commission Member Miller,
Yes.
Commission Member Spence,
Yes.
Commission Member Tuggle,
Yes.
Chairperson Chauncey.
Yes. All right, that agenda item is approved and it will go before City Council for two readings.
Two readings.
Two readings.
First reading will take place next Thursday, which is September the 24th.
Okay.
And then the next one is October 8th. October the 8th, and October the 8th will be another public hearing. And at that public hearing, we will, at a minimum of 24 hours before the date of the meeting, will be, the email will be open for any kind of responses, concerns, support to be addressed, and will be read again. And we will work through those just like we did tonight. And again, I encourage anybody in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me. I can sit down, show you the plans, explain to the best of my ability what the overall objective is to continue to improve the health, well-being, and quality of life of all of our residents here in East Ridge.
Thank you, Kenny. All right, that's everything on the agenda tonight. I appreciate everyone's attendance. This meeting is adjourned.